Hi, it's Jill Osborne from the Interstitial Cystitis Network, and I'm here today with another self-help tip on living with IC. My theme today is about school, specifically back to school for elementary school students. You know, it's late summer here in California. School will be beginning very, very quickly. Thus, I want to share a couple of tips that I think might make school more comfortable and less anxious for your child who has IC. Now, we have one goal, and that goal is to maintain your child's pride, dignity, and self-esteem. But when you have interstitial cystitis at school, there are plenty of opportunities for embarrassment, so we want to minimize those ahead of time and get those school staff on your side so that your child can enjoy the school day. So let me give you some ideas that I think will help. Number one, get a letter from your doctor that says that your child has interstitial cystitis and may need urgent restroom access. This letter is very important and will open some doors in the future. Secondly, before the school year starts, make an appointment with the school administrator, preferably the principal, and if possible, the school nurse. Now here's the problem. A lot of school districts now don't keep nurses on campus at every school. Many nurses manage multiple schools. So the odds are that your child will instead be relying on the school secretary and the school principal for help if anything happens. So we want to get those people on your side as quickly as possible. So make an appointment. You only need 15 minutes or so. It's not a big deal. Bring in the letter from the doctor. If you can, bring in an article or two on IC. You'll find several on our website. And then let's just talk about what you think your child is going to need. I mean, what do we know about IC? That the bladder is irritated, inflamed. We know that some people even have wounds in their bladder, and that includes children. We know that the bladder has days when it feels good and days when it doesn't feel good, so the symptoms are going to wax and wane over time. We know that as the bladder fills up with urine, it can get very, very uncomfortable. Thus, it's very, very important that your child be given the opportunity to use the restroom, really whenever they need to use the restroom. Now, here's a very clever strategy. With that great letter you got from the doctor, have the principal and the nurse sign it and then have them photocopy it and give it to all the other staff on campus. They can just put it in their boxes in the teacher's room. This is a very quick and easy way to educate other people about your child's needs, but you know, I'll bet you there will be at least one other person on campus, maybe even a teacher, who also has IC and who will get it and be a good advocate for you. Okay, once you've done that, let's make a parent-teacher conference. You want to do that either right before school starts or the day or two after. You only need 10 minutes of your parents' time, very quick and easy meeting. Again, bring that handy-dandy letter that you've gotten and sit down with the teacher and explain that your child will need restroom access. This is not a child seeking attention. This is not a child asking for special privileges. This is a child who has a legitimate medical need to use the restroom. And you want the teacher to find and create a non-embarrassing way for your child to ask for restroom access. The last thing we want is for your child to have to raise their hand and say, Miss Osborne, I need to go. Oh, come on now, that's just way too embarrassing. So ask the teacher if she can come up with something a little bit non-embarrassing. How about holding a pencil up? How about tapping a pencil on the head? How about going and standing by the door? I'm sure that there will be an easy way for your child to communicate non-verbally that it's time to use the restroom. Now, another thing your teacher should do is leave a note for any substitute teachers that might be covering for her that your child will need restroom access and not to ask them to hold it. That's pretty important. PE is also an issue. On those days when the bladder is sensitive, doing a really aggressive PE activity like running around the gym might actually be very uncomfortable. So ask the teacher to Ask your child how she's feeling or he's feeling. And if it's a rough day, maybe there's a different activity that your child can do. How about being a ball monitor? How about being a referee or an umpire at kickball? I'm sure that there's a way to keep your child engaged and outside and enjoying the sunshine. Now, another thing that might come up are field trips. Field trips are a little bit tricky because sometimes they involve bus rides, and bus rides certainly can be very, very tricky when you have IC. So if it's a short bus ride, as long as your child has the opportunity to use the restroom before getting on the bus, and then again immediately after they get off the bus at the field trip location, and if that bus ride's 15, 20, 25 minutes, should be okay. But if it's a longer bus ride, an hour-long bus ride, you are going to need to plan for restroom access. But here's what's great. You know, right now, a lot of school districts can't afford buses. They ask parents instead to drive students. And that is the perfect opportunity for you to step forward and support your child. If it's a long ride, offer to drive instead. That way you can pull over and allow your child to use the restroom instead of asking the bus to pull over. And remember too that buses in general tend to be very, very bouncy. And we know that many IC patients struggle with discomfort in bouncy cars. I personally have a very hard time riding in buses if it's a longer bus ride. Short bus rides are fine, but a long bus ride can be very difficult even for me. And so again, be sensitive to the fact that a car could be much more comfortable, especially for going to school in the morning. Again, if it's a short ride, not a problem. But if it's a longer ride, try to step in when you can. Okay, now, last but not least, you want to make sure that you check in with your child after school starts and ask them how it's going. Don't assume that it's okay because, you know, children really clam up when things aren't going well. And you always know it's an issue if a child says, I'm fine. I mean, if there's one word that says, I'm not okay, it's the word fine. So after dinner, you know, pull your child aside once a week, once every 2 weeks, and say, honey, how is school going? Is anybody giving you a hard time? Are you allowed to use the restroom? Is anybody teasing you? Are you enjoying yourself? And of course, you know, because you're going to see if your child is smiling at the end of the day and having fun. And that's what we hope will be happening. But if it's not happening and your child is uncomfortable, then you absolutely need to get to the root of the problem, ask lots of questions, and then go back to the school and try to work with the staff there to ease those problems. I hope that that helps. If you're looking for any more information on IC, please come to our website at www.ic-network.com.